Hey folks, so this is it. This is the new rig. It's a 2011 Mercedes Benz E550 4MATIC. So it's a sick ride. I bought it. I drove about 2 hours away to get it, 2 hours back. That's all I've driven it, basically. So once I got it back here, I completely restored the paint on the vehicle. The paint was in rough shape. And after that, I ended up ceramic coating it and throwing a tire shine on it as well, a permanent tire shine, and just totally giving the interior good detail. Completely detailed this vehicle, so it looks completely different than when I bought it in terms of paint quality and such. But I am making this vehicle because I just want to let you know why I got this vehicle and what the steps were of getting it. So first of all, what led me to this purchase was the total of my Genesis 5.0 R-Spec. So I had that vehicle about 2 months ago in November. I was going to the gym at about 7 o'clock in the morning to get a good workout in, and I hit a deer. So originally, one of my friends owns a body shop. He sent the estimate in to my insurance agency. They said that I could repair it, for a cost. And that original estimate from the body shop was $11,000. State Farm would pay $5,600 of it, I think, $5,600 of it. And then, they would supplement the shop. But after about 2 weeks, they came back and they let me know that they were going to total the vehicle. So I was kind of bummed out. It took me about a week to figure out if I actually wanted to total that Genesis or not. And after that week, I decided, okay, I've got to get new tires for this. I've got to eventually get brakes for it. I have to fix the sunroof because the sunroof didn't work. And the engine was sometimes knocking, I guess, or it was just rattling. So I want to have that looked at. So after you factor in tires, which were going to cost anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500 for the tires that I wanted, the sunroof, which I budgeted out to be $1,000, and then to have the dealership just look at the engine, make sure everything was all right, you're looking at about a total of $3,000. So I could have bought the Genesis back for $5,000, so that would have left me with about $10,000 left on my total. So I could have very well did that. And my shop could have fixed it for me using used parts for about $7,000, give or take some money there. So I ended up, just basically totaling the vehicle, and I got $15,000 for it. So thus began my search of a vehicle. My top three cars that I was looking for were the Chrysler 300, 2011 and newer, with the 5.7 liter Hemi V8. Could have been rear wheel, could have been all wheel. I didn't care. I just wanted the Hemi. And of course the Dodge, it's a little dirty, the Dodge Charger RT. Could have been all wheel, could have been rear wheel. I didn't care. I just wanted that 5.7 liter Hemi. But come to find out, everything with 80,000 miles or less in my area, 300 miles away from my area in northwest Wisconsin, was $20,000 or more. 20 to 25,000. Occasionally you would find one that was 18 to 19, but it was still out of my price range. So those were kind of the two cars I was looking for and I just couldn't get. I found one close, but it was a 2012 Chrysler 300C with 99,000 miles on the dealership, wanted $16,000 for it. So I couldn't afford that. I could afford it, but it was out of my budget. I didn't want to buy anything with that high of miles on it so far. So I looked for, my third choice on a vehicle was the Cadillac CTS with the newer 3.6 liter V6 that put out a hair over 300 horsepower. Again, I just couldn't find a vehicle. I couldn't find that vehicle at all, even in a higher price range. So that was kind of out of the option bin there. I did stumble upon a coupe version of that with a 3.6 liter in the luxury package. And that was at a dealership for about $14,000 to $14,500. And that had 91,000 miles on it though. So I didn't pull the trigger on that. I just wasn't too sure about it. I wanted something with lower miles. So I stumbled upon a Regal GS and a Cadillac ATS with both the 2.0 turbos. And I didn't really want those. I didn't want turbocharged power. So I ended up sticking with the trying to find a naturally aspirated engine. So about a month into the search, I stumbled upon this E550. I did a lot of research before I bought it. I had ample time before I bought the vehicle to decide, if I wanted it or not. So I guess the first thing what drew me to this vehicle was that I couldn't find anything decent with rear wheel or all-wheel drive that was $15,000 or under. I just couldn't. So that's kind of what drew me to this vehicle first. Second, I did a lot of research on this vehicle to find out the pros and the cons of this year. It received high reliability marks for the engine, the 5.5 liter V8, naturally aspirated V8 that puts out about 390 horsepower and 390 foot-pound torque. Next was the transmission. There weren't too many transmission issues wrong with the vehicle. So in general, that's another reason why I chose it. And third, part of that reason was the reviews that said this was kind of the height of Mercedes build quality and reliability. So I figured this 2011 was the last year of this vehicle with this 5.5 liter V8. That was the last iteration of the engine. So they had to have figured out most of the kinks in that engine so far. There were some cons to the vehicle though. The air suspension was a big issue of this E-Class. People are still having problems with these. So, that's one thing you have to watch out for. That can get very pricey. There are some electrical issues that can go wrong. And even the transmission has some slight minor issues that can go wrong with it. But, and the coolant or the thermostats, I read that as well. But the overall reliability of the vehicle is what kind of drew me to it as well. And third, what sealed the deal for me was, I don't have them with me, but the previous owner kept a huge compilement of service records in the glove box there. So the air suspension was replaced about 63,000 miles. That was 13,000 miles ago. That cost $5,000. It was totally replaced, completely done over. Next, the engine thermostat and coolant thermostat were replaced. So that was about $500. I don't have to worry about that. The Mercedes Benz A service was done very recently. That cost about $1,000, and the brake fluids were flushed. All the other fluids were checked very recently. New tires were just put on this. They weren't anything special, but they are new tires. They're Goodyear Exhilarates. So they're tires, I will say that. But I don't have to spend that money. The sunroof also works great on it. He had a whole compilement of service. And he didn't drive this much beforehand either. So that was making me feel good about the purchase as well. That some of these bigger issues were fixed, and that he kept doing the Mercedes Benz A and B service on this vehicle while he had it. So those are some things that made me want to buy this vehicle. So and to know that he was buying a Mercedes Benz GLC 43 AMG and keeping the Mercedes Benz lineup in his family made me feel good. So that means he trusted the vehicle, and he had high praise for it as well. There isn't much squeaks or rattles in it. So those were, before I drove the vehicle, those were some of the selling points as to why I ended up buying it. And I'm very happy that I ended up buying it. There's no oil leaks, no leaks of any sort. I think the only thing I may have to put into this pretty quick is a B service and brakes. But everything else is handled. So those are kind of the main reasons why I bought the car. And then once I saw it, you know, the looks and everything else, yes, you have to love the car. You have to love the looks. Yes, I can tell you that was another reason why I bought the vehicle. I mean, the car looks great for a 2011. The Mercedes Benz lines on this are excellent. The AMG Sports package is pretty cool. The rims look nice for the year. The interior is really nice. There's just a lot of cool things, and I did a review about this vehicle as well, so I won't go too in depth on it, but there are a lot of nice things about this vehicle that blow the Genesis away in some respects. And you can see I need to detail a little bit better apparently, but everything about the vehicle is pretty well made. That like he said, there's no squeaks or rattles in this. It's got a lot of options. It's got all the options except the Mercedes-Benz Distronic, with the the Distronic, the adaptive cruise control basically. So it doesn't have that, but that's not a huge deal. That the Genesis had that, but that's not a selling point to me right now. I can say I mainly use my truck with the adaptive cruise control. I use adaptive cruise control all the time, but with my car, I don't follow close enough to other cars to want to use that anyway. So it's definitely a lot easier to get distracted in the Ram with all the technology and your phone being right in front of you, rather than this car where your phone doesn't really integrate into the touchscreen as well as it does, or the user interface as it does with the Ram truck, something a little bit newer. But heated, cooled seats, pretty nice. Peasant blocker in the back. You can drop all your headrests. You got front and rear park sensors. This car is pretty loaded. There are some nice added touches to it that I like a lot. Everything's just solid, very well made. I was surprised at it. The wood's faded, but everything else is pretty well made. And to truth be told, I would love to tell you how the vehicle drives in sport mode, but I can't. I haven't driven it enough. It was in comfort mode and eco mode, and it was very comfortable. I mean, this was the most comfortable ride I have been in. The seats are the most comfortable seats I've been in, and it's a massaging seat with active bolsters, so that's pretty cool as well. But I mean, everything about the car really drew itself to me. And I said I'd never buy a Mercedes-Benz, or I'd never buy a foreign vehicle again, but I completely changed my mind on that. The hood release is underneath right there. And yeah, everything about the vehicle is pretty swell. There's only one real paint chip on it, and that's right here. I have some touch-up paint coming. I'm gonna fix that. But overall, this car is very nice looking, and so far so good. Low end torque is great. Like I said, I haven't done any sporty driving with it, but low end torque is good. I will say that. The Genesis did have more horsepower. It's 430 horsepower going to the rear wheels. This is 390 horsepower going to all wheels. That engine, that 5-liter V8 naturally aspirated in the Genesis, had about 360, I believe, foot-pound torque. This has about 390 to 400. So I could definitely notice a difference with the low-end torque. And this vehicle does weigh a fair amount less. I believe it's 100 or 200 pounds less than the Genesis was. So I definitely noticed some difference here with the low-end torque. I haven't driven it very sporty yet, and I am looking forward to doing that here once we get a break in the weather and I'm able just to take the car out and, drive it around. So yeah, everything's great. I mean, the body lines of this are awesome. Underneath the vehicle looks really good. There wasn't any rusting of the subframe that I noticed, but the body lines of this car for a 2011 look very, very good. It is very modern and very up to date. I mean, if you guys are looking for a vehicle like this, make sure you do your research. That's all I have to say. It's so important with a German car or any import car that you do your research on it. That Hyundai was my first foreign car. I felt good being a Hyundai. I didn't do too much research on it. I felt really good about buying it with it being a Hyundai. But this is an expensive machine here. This was about 70 to 75,000 brand new, and I bought it for 14. So the depreciation is if you buy one of these things new, you have to realize that your vehicle is going to depreciate because the maintenance costs are so high. So when they get to be 10 years old like this is, or 12 years old, you are essentially buying, let's just say this is $14,000, but if you have repairs, you're essentially buying yourself a $20,000 American vehicle, is the way I look at it here, if you have to put money into it. So just be aware, do your research. That is so important to do with these vehicles. I can't stress it enough. But if you do your research, you find the right one, you will definitely fall in love with a Mercedes Benz. I never thought I'd say that, but I totally am. And I am a huge geek for this naturally aspirated engine. I have never owned a blown motor in my life, and I don't see myself doing so anytime soon. I love naturally aspirated V8 power. This is out of the 7 cars I've owned, this is including trucks. I've had 3 trucks, 2 cars of V8. So 5 out of the 7 cars that I've owned have been V8 power. So pretty happy with this engine so far. It's good on gas. I mean, it's very similar to the Genesis. I think 0 to 60 is 4.6 to 4.8, and the Genesis was 4.8. So everything is basically the same on it. But one thing I do like is these performance brakes. Those are drilled and slotted, vented. Pretty cool AMG brakes. It even says Mercedes Benz. So yeah, I am going to definitely do some updates with this vehicle here, as I am quite fond of it. So stay tuned, and any questions, always feel free to reach out. But this is the new rig. I'm very happy about it so far. Just really, really excited. And that's about all I have.